I want to go now to Alberta that we mentioned off the top, facing an historic $24.2 billion deficit. Jeannie, let's start with you there. With revenue expected to drop $11.5 billion over the current fiscal year, what do you think is at stake for Alberta and for the rest of the country?
Well, I mean, we've seen it at the gas pumps, right? Gas prices have been at record lows for the past several months. We know what's happened with energy prices even before COVID. The war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. So no surprise that Alberta has been hit quite hard. What I'm concerned about is Alberta historically has been a net contributor and the biggest contributor to transfer funding. We have equalization payments in Canada. Over the past 55 years, they've been a net contributor. And I understand over the last 11 years, they've contributed 61% of the funds into the equalization fund, which then gets redistributed to other provinces. So now they're actually going to be a recipient for the first time in 55 years. So how is that going to affect the rest of us in terms of they were such a powerhouse before? So I think a tough road ahead, not only for Alberta, but nationally.
That's a good point. And Rubina, want to talk to you about taxes, because Alberta is one of the lowest taxed jurisdictions in Canada. Do you think facing this challenge that might have to change?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Alberta doesn't have a sales tax, for an example. It's the only province that doesn't have one. And that's really something that perhaps the province will have to look at how they're going to raise revenue. I mean, if they have this deficit, if they are suffering because the oil prices are not coming back, they have to find some way that they're going to keep their economy afloat. We have to really look back. I don't know, I'm old enough to remember Klein bucks. And Alberta has always had this attitude that when there's a surplus, that they distribute the money to their residents and they give back to the people who live in their province. I think that, from a personal finance columnist, I write about this all the time, that when the going is good, rather than distributing it, is to save it for a rainy day. And I really think that, this is true for any province, that when your economy is doing well, rather than putting more money into the pockets of people, which may be small amounts, but, a couple of $100 makes people happy, really gains you political points, put that money into a fund that will help you toward, in times like this, where, the economy isn't doing well. We are a resource-rich nation, and nowhere is that more represented than Alberta. And right now, if they had that money, I mean, this is going back 20 years, but, there's been many examples of that where the province has done very well. If they had saved that money rather than distributing it, they would have been in a better position. I also think that they could see service cuts. There's already talk about that. That's the only way that they can save money, is raising taxes and cutting services. And that's unfortunate for the people of Alberta.
And it's something we'll definitely be tracking in the weeks and months to come.